All right, welcome to the Conquer Cast. Today I have an incredible guest. He is a member of the Mountain Ops team, member of the executive team here at Mountain Ops, and honestly, more importantly, a really good friend. Somebody I love and admire, somebody I appreciate, have so for a long time, and he's blessed my life. And so it's awesome for me. It's an honor for me to sit down with Ryan Ward. He's our VP of product here at Mountain Ops, and many of you that are listening or watching will have known Ryan from the industry. He's got an incredible resume and has come up through this industry in the hunting space, and honestly has just been an amazing blessing to the Mountain Ops team, the community. He's one that lives the culture, lives the passion of the hunt, and is true to our core values. So he's someone I trust, and that means a lot to me. And so grateful to have Ryan here. Ryan, thanks.
To be here. Thanks for that. I mean, intro, obviously, I want to echo that about you. Obviously, there's always good coworkers, and you treated as such, but obviously at Mountain Ops, I think there's always been a lot more than that, a lot deeper.
Yeah.
It's family, it's friends, and from day one, I met with you before, coming into the business, and I feel like have grown, such a trust and bond with you over the years. We've been through a lot,
Quite a bit, yeah.
Up and down. It's been around 7 years for me, so can't say enough about you and your family, and I know my family kind of has the same feelings. It's like it's definitely more than a boss or a coworker or
I've never seen it as such. There's we get to work together, right? We're partners on this, and we're there. We have been through a lot. It's been how long? It's been
almost 7. So for me in February it'll be 7 years.
7 years, and I felt like there was an immediate connection when we met back at the old office, and then I remember, was it right close to the Hunt Expo time?
That was literally my first week, right? So,
okay.
I met with you at the car dealership, and then obviously there was a little bit of waiting period or whatever. But when I started, you guys were transitioning to
this office. We weren't selling cars. My brothers were, but we had our office in the back.
Right.
And not that there's anything wrong with selling cars, but we just we had the powders in the back and then used cars in the front, and then I remember that first Hunt Expo, just being blown away by how you had organized the expo, our setup. I think we were doing, was it the Polaroid shirts that year?
I think that was the year.
Was that the year after?
Year 2. But
I just remember you had a knack for merchandising things as well. So you obviously came from a product background, developing product and everything, but also then knowing and understanding how our community wanted to have it on display to sell it. And so I was really just okay, this is awesome to watch him in action. But going back to, the friendship and the connection that occurred, and, you've got an incredible family, McCall and your kids, and it's been fun that we've been able to spend some time together as well. We've done some executive retreats, and that, it just bonds us together. My wife loves your wife. There's just this connection that way that makes it pretty amazing when you come into work and you know somebody at a different level, and it's not just clock in, clock out, let's get our work done. Obviously we do that, but there's more to it than that. So
I would love following along. My wife's always asking about your wife, and actually really eager to do more with her, and even help out. She's obviously a huge fan of the brand and stuff, but the Conquer Hunger side of things strikes at her core. She's I don't know how, but keep telling Trevor.
Well, there needs to be more, honestly, because the next podcast I'm doing is actually with Cheryl, and she's, our director of Conquer Hunger. My wife, your wife, a few other, I think, Darren's wife, Nick's, all of the wives, they've asked, how can I participate more? Yeah. But I know that your wife, she's even proposed a few things, and it's hey, we should actually take this serious. So we're putting a game plan together for Conquer Hunger to actually scale it in a more meaningful way, even though, it's been impactful, it's been incredible, but we want to scale it even more, but it's going to take support of others. And so it's nice that we have people close to home that
it's excited about just stuff like that, and, Chair of Hope and things like that, kind of an inner drive that she's, through service that, it's fun to see her. Obviously she's an amazing mother, and helps with the kids, but always kind of wants to do more, and a lot of it's through service and helping.
You tell us about Share the Hope. 2 years ago, we went to Mexico, actually, where I served my mission, and tell us, because I remember she came back, you did as well, all of us did, but pretty impactful for her.
Yeah, that's so an organization that, you know, we were able to be a part of. They travel all over the world, really. We went to Mexico, kind of very rural cities, you know, and we were able to donate, I think it was 300 wheelchairs in that trip into like, I think 100 at each stop.
Yeah.
We went to like 3 different cities, and it's amazing. I mean, I think you put yourself in those situations, or you pull yourself out of your normal comfort zone, you know, just your everyday daily grind. Myself, I can say I'm very blessed, right, to you know, be able to walk and have my health and do that, and that's a big part of my passions and everything, right? So when you go and you go into someone's actual home, right, and you can see like how they're living, and they don't have what you have and are blessed with, just, you know, from a house standpoint, that kind of knocks you back, especially if you never see it. But then you see that they're dealing with like a loss of a limb or just non-function or whatever it is, and how hard they truly have. And so when you are able to come in and like put them in a wheelchair and give them some mobility, right, like just to like leave their bedroom or leave their house and go down to the corner.
That was one moment there. Maybe we were together, and there was a gentleman that we helped get out to the like just the outside of their home, and we asked like, what are you looking forward to most in this wheelchair? And he could not wait to go to the corner. Yeah. And we could see the corner from where we were standing, and he was like, I can't wait. There's people passing by, there's connection, there's all this that he gets to go and now experience. Part of, and we're sitting there worrying about so many things in this life, and he's just excited to get to the corner, you know? But puts things in perspective.
Very moving. And you come home from a trip like that, and you're like, when can I go again, right? And where can I go again? And, you know, what can I do locally? It's hard when it's not, you don't see it as much, it's like not in your face, but, you know, it's that service is life-changing, right? And I think if you can kind of get those opportunities, we came home from it and we're like, man, we have 4 kids, like, how do we like expose them to it, right? And I think that's kind of our next goal is like, okay, you know, 1 child at a time, I guess. You know, and it's not these big trips necessarily, but it's they need to see the world. You know, they need to know what's out there, even if it's not like worldwide, even locally. Like, you know, people live differently and need help and struggle with different things, and so exposing them to that, you know. And we try to do different service projects here and there, and like you always come away with it, you know, just feeling like top of the world, even if you were like busy schedule or man, it's hard to fit it in. If you can find a way, like even if you do it with a bad attitude, which is not great, but like you'll come out of it with a better attitude. And that's probably like Ben said many times, but it's just so true. I think that I feel like that's with a lot of things, right? Even like just some of the like physical stuff that, you know, you do in your life or whatever. Like, I don't really feel like this today. But if you force yourself to do those hard things, you know, hard in your mind, I guess, you know, you always come out of it feeling better. The days I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm going to sleep in, I'm going to skip a workout, or I'm going to skip this, I toss and turn, and, you know, I get up later, I'm like, that was a waste. Like, why did I do that? Right. So
I completely understand and agree. You guys came back from that trip, and so we were with Nathan Ogden, Heather Ogden, their family. They've got this Chair the Hope that Mountain Ops participated in, delivering wheelchairs, and then we surprised Nathan with a hunt with Do Utah, Disabled Outdoorsman Utah, at the Hunt Expo. He was not expecting that. We asked him to be there. Sid Smith kind of presented what Do Utah does, and then while they were showing this video and we were about to reward or award or just surprise Nathan with this hunt, Nathan rolled over in his wheelchair to Sid and said, "Hey, how can I help? Like, I need to do something to help." Not knowing that in a minute he was about to be the recipient of an elk hunt for him, you know. Super cool. And so then he's totally caught off guard. But it just goes to show the type of individual we were working with. Like, he wasn't concerned, he wasn't expecting. He was more concerned about like, hey, how can I help in this scenario? And then you and your wife got to go on that hunt with them and to experience. Was that his first elk hunt?
It was.
In a wheelchair,
especially for sure in a wheelchair. I know as a boy he hunted, you know, deer and maybe elk. I don't know, but I know ever since his accident, it's the first time been able to get out and experience that. And
How was that?
I mean, that was kind of like life changing too, right? You obviously a passion of mine, like to invite me on any hunt. I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Even if I'm packing meat or just like, hey, hauling, whatever it is, like I'm there. And to be able to bring my wife, who like, I'm always coming home from like a hunt or whatever, and I'm excited to be like, oh, like we heard this bugle at whatever 50 yards, 20 yards, and like you're always kind of trying to describe that moment, and people don't really understand it unless you kind of have to put them in it, like see how you get the chills like from this, like it's just different when you're in close, right? So she was able to come, and I knew we were on a cool property that like I'm like we're gonna have some encounters, and she's gonna get to experience this, because with Nate, we can't really get him too many places, right? So we have to like bring the elk in and have a nice, perfect setup, and it really everything has to kind of align for it to work out. And it was, pretty amazing. Sometimes you don't want those things to end quickly, but then you're always praying like for
the opportunity happen.
An opportunity. So, not to, I guess, spoil it, but like opening morning, where we get set up. It's still dark, so we're like, okay, arranging like and there's bugles and things in the background already, right? So we're already like.
Had your wife heard that, or was that her first time hearing the bugles that way?
I heard them like one or two other times, but nothing like real close.
Yeah.
And so, and they weren't that close yet, but we were, setting up.
And I don't know if Heather Ogden had experienced that before. Probably first time, right? And then our videographer was probably experiencing it for the first time.
Garrett experienced it either.
That's what I love. Yeah. Like my passion over the last 10 years has been introducing people to what that experience is. I call it the fear of others, FUMO, fear of others missing out. So it's like that gives me almost more excitement than anything. So you were up there with a bunch of people experiencing it for the first time and then hoping that it happened.
And you really can't replicate it, right? And so like, we get set up and like, just starts turning light, and we can see elk on like one far ridge. So we're like, oh, there's cows over there. There's a bull. We can hear him bugling. You can tell on this other ridge, there's also like they're talking to each other. Our guide was obviously doing some calling, and there was just so much commotion. Really, you didn't really feel like, oh, one's coming, right?
Yeah.
And so it was still early in the hunt, and we were just kind of watching them through our binoculars, and just like high anticipation of like, hey, something, right? But we got to pull them close across like some open knobs and things because we really couldn't get up to where they're at, right?
And you kind of have to pull them right into, because Nathan he's a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
He's he's biting a trigger in his mouth or blowing or.
No, he was
biting.
Yep.
And he doesn't have much radius to move, hardly at all, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. So we had to set it up where like perfect scenario had to work out, right? Like
basically had to cross through the crosshairs, like the bull had to walk through it, right?
Yeah, he's only got like, not even 90 degrees, right, of movement, unless Mike, who was helping him, would have to go adjust, and these are wild animals, right? You're not just going to let you like stand up and go move things and try to find it in the site, right? So you're like, a lot has to go right. And so, a lot of back and forth calling, some behind us, and it was still early, but like, it didn't feel like anything was getting closer. And then, as we're, I guess, sitting there, you hear a new bugle that you hadn't heard, right? And so it wasn't those two up top. There's like a creek off this ridge, and, you could tell, oh, there's a bull that just bugled in that creek, and you can tell. So he bugled, and they're like, that's closer. And then so you're like, oh man, like this could happen. And it's facing the way that you want him facing. And then all of a sudden it's bugles again, even closer. And like, I'm there with, I think I was next to Heather and my wife, McCall, and they could tell where it's coming from, but I'm like, oh, it's like right over this ridge. So I'm like, hey, look right here. He's going to come right over this crest. Right. And sure enough, like to a T, like you see the tops of his antlers, he's just coming in like,
I call
really
it
on
like experience. Yeah.
I mean, when you say that, and you've heard that
it happened.
It happened, and so he just kept coming. And we had a decoy set up that was obviously helpful to get him to like keep coming in and closing that distance. But I mean, he was like in the center of where Nate, like it's just basically his process, where his gun is like already set up, is like walking straight on. So he comes in, and I think he got to like 60, 70 yards. And so Nate's on it. Nate's ready to bite the trigger. I was going to say pull the trigger, but he's ready to bite the device that then pulls the trigger. And so he bites it, right? And so I guess the bull comes in facing, he turns broadside, and Nate's like, all right, yeah, game on, right? Bites it, nothing happens. He bites it again. So he has to whisper, and he's like, it's not working, something's going on. And Mike looks down, and so it's connected to like a car battery, basically, that powers it. And the switch wasn't on, right? And all the setup, just that little thing got missed. And so he has to like reach down, turn it on. And the bull at that point was like kind of figuring out like, what's going on. So he was facing broadside one way, he'd flip back the other way and kind of facing the other way, kind of looking like he was
maybe in the
he actually might have turned to leave, and they called again and kind of spun him, because he's like, okay, I'm looking at this cow, but I don't see anything else, right? And, Nate at that point was back on him and made, one perfect shot, and the bull ran 30, 40 yards and, died like right there on that little knob. So everyone was there. Like we were all under 100 yards, and, to experience that together, was for the first time, and for someone who's seen it a few times, is like, it just never gets old. And it's kind of amazing. You just had so much like joy really and happiness for Nate. I mean, because you're like, man, if you wrote the script of how you wanted it to happen, that's what happened. It had to happen that way, and it did. And so you're like, man, we'd planned on 3-4 days, and
that's why I wasn't there, because I planned on 3 or 4 days, and I think a niece or nephew was getting married or something. I can't remember. So it was like I was going to go up, I think, the next day. And he shot the first day, which I honestly, like, you couldn't ask for anything better. I wish I would have been there.
Right. He's like, you want to hunt, you want to like see multiple opportunities to experience it, but when it happens that perfect, and that's what you like wish and pray for. You're like,
you bite it.
Right. And so we stayed a few days longer and just enjoyed everyone's company. And, that's most of the moments and memories of hunting, is just like in camp and talking and telling stories and getting to know people, right? And so we didn't lose that part of it, even though the hunt was kind of over, and super happy for it.
I got a video from Nate like the day after or whatever, and he just like walked me play by play through it all. He was so excited. Heather was so excited. His kids, I know, were thrilled for him, and then you guys being there to support him through that, having been in a poverty-stricken area of the world, delivering wheelchairs through what this guy's doing, to then be able to like offer a hunt and then and kind of give back to him and his wife and family for all that they do. I mean, it was awesome from watching from a distance, but you got to be there on both of those, and so I wasn't planning on talking about that, but I just remember that as we started talking.
It's good not to forget it, right? Those are good moments, and I'm super grateful to be a part of it, especially with my wife. I know cherish moments for her too. So, and normally you wouldn't say that about a hunting trip. I mean, for her, right?
Yeah,
loves to eat the elk and be a part of it, of my passion, and she knows it brings me happiness. But like to kind of live that and experience it with Nate and Heather, it was definitely special.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's we'll talk about another hunt in just a bit. That you've just recently gone on, a new hunt for you, and want to see how that experience was, and talk about the Mountain Ops Hunt Draw a little bit here as well. But maybe for those that don't know, or maybe there's people that know you but they don't know your history in the hunting industry, and then how you came to Mountain Ops. Let's go to that point, and then we'll talk a little bit about Mountain Ops and products we're developing and such that have been exciting for you. But give us a little history.
Sure. Obviously grew up as a kid, trying to do all the outdoor stuff, and I never really thought I could work in it, right, and be in the industry. It was never really.
What did you think you'd do when you were a kid? Do you know? Did you have something you were?
I don't really know. I mean, obviously I went to school to get a marketing degree, but that's so ambiguous and broad, right? You could end up doing anything.
Yeah.
And so out of college, got my first job at Easton Archery, doing marketing and stuff there, and quickly within like a year and a half, 2 years, kind of got recruited into the product development side of that business, right? We were working on all the outdoor items or archery items, and they had like a outdoor like mountain side of the business, like tents and snowshoes and trekking poles and all that, right? So I was doing development on kind of both sides of that business with some a team of product developers. And so was at Easton about 3.5 years. Loved it. Obviously fell more in love with archery. I bow hunted as kind of a novice as a teenager, and killed a few small little bucks as a kid, but got into it pretty serious and kind of loved always, and since then I've loved archery. But took a job opportunity after that, and then went to Browning Firearms to do product development there. I was doing all their headwear for many years, technical apparel, a lot of the accessories, gun cases and scope rings, and they have a lot of SKUs, and so I was touching a lot of things, and great place to work. Pretty similar. I mean, I wouldn't say similar to Mountain Ops. It is for a big corporate company. There is kind of a family feel. Or like, and a lot of the employees are tenured and pretty close. So that it was a great place, and I can't say a bad thing about it. But I was there 7 years.
How long were you at Easton?
About 3.5.
3.5, and then 7 at Browning.
Which was cool. Took me all over the world, sourcing and developing products.
Multiple trips to China. Where to?
China, Vietnam, Costa Rica, Mexico, Korea. I mean, a lot of just different international sourcing opportunities, and meeting with factories and doing QC work and all that. Kind of all over. Yeah, which was exciting. I had a young family at the time, so it was kind of hard.
Did you get to see the sights in those places, or was it kind of in and out, like getting business done?
I was just telling Judd the other day, who's moving to Costa Rica, but I went to Costa Rica once, but it was like, this is my typical like business trip. Is like, okay, I plan things so tight. So I flew into Costa Rica in the dark one night. I went to my hotel, obviously got up, went to the factory in the morning, worked for the day in the factory, and then I flew out again that night. So like, I could have been anywhere. I could have been in China. I could have been.
It didn't matter.
But I was in Costa Rica. I experienced maybe a authentic lunch or something. But I did that a lot because I traveled alone most of the time, and I just, instead of like, if you see the sights, or you kind of like, oh, I'm gonna not fly out tonight, but I'll fly out in the morning. It just makes those trips super long. 10 days kind of a minimum, and 14, 15, 16 days, if you're going to extend those. So I would fly into a city, work, and then fly out at night, to the next city and have a meeting the next day. And then, another factory, especially when I'm like in China or Vietnam or something, you just try to stack them in and then get home.
And that says a lot about you. Two things, like you're an incredibly hard worker, and you take your roles and responsibilities serious. You want to get the job done and done right. I've always admired that about you. And then you want to get back to family. I mean, family's first for you, and so you're a family man, husband and father, and so it's admirable that that's how you ran those trips. It wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to linger longer over here while my family's back home, my wife's taking care of the kids and stuff. It's like they need your time and attention.
She needs it, they need it. Yeah. So that's how we kind of always did it. I think it was good learnings, right? Everyone's capable of hard work and then pushing long hours and for the greater reward, or like more time with others, right? And so I've kind of tried to live that way. The time you have or whatever, put your heart and soul into that. And then, you catch yourself like you can waste time doing so many different things, on a work trip or just on your phone, and a lot of what I've tried to like live by is just like eliminating some of that waste, right? Making your days are short, even though they feel long sometimes, but like, hey, if you're, the automatic like screen report thing used to get me a lot, where you're like, oh, I really like had 3 hours of waste or whatever. It's like, what you can do in 3 or 4 hours, right? Sure. So it was always important to me that, you see some of that reality and you're like, I can do so much more, right? I can find time for family and, work and friends and other things. So,
No, definitely. I mean, if you're mindful about it and intentional, then you can definitely. People complain they don't have enough time, and sometimes those reports will prove otherwise.
Yeah, you can find it.
That's awesome. And so you worked for two very large brands. I mean, right out of college, great success there with those brands. I mean, iconic brands in the outdoor industry. And then an opportunity with a much smaller brand comes along, and we're in at that point, our third, close to fourth year of business. That's a leap of faith to say, hey, I've been in here, I have this great, probably security and everything, and you were doing well, but what was it about Mountain Ops? What made you take that leap of faith, or caused you to say, hey, it's time to try something new?
Yeah, no, and at the time it was there was a lot of kind of fear, and it had to be like a leap, right? Like, brand new companies, anyway, under 5 years can kind of come and go, right? And so,
and I would say you and I are very similar. We deal with some anxieties in life. I don't mean to throw that out there, but hey, I'm an anxious guy.
I'm an overthinker. I think
overthinker. Yep.
Spend a lot of your life in, product development. You have to be like critical of things, and you have to foresee kind of like problems, right? Either with the product or getting the product in.
So you're a problem solver. I mean, even if it's like something that exists and you're trying to fix a problem, or it's like, what's the problem out there that we're not addressing yet? And we want to provide something to help people with that.
Yeah. So, it weighs on me. Mentally, right? Because I take things seriously. Like obviously products we could develop for Mountain Ops or for Browning or for Easton, like they also had my name on them, right? And, I always wanted to like, hey, this is my brand, right? Technically. And so as you put products in the market, you want them to perform at the level they need to, and like what you say they will. And so, and I take things personal, like shouldn't probably read like even reviews, but like you see a review, even if it's like it was like shipped wrong or damaged, you're like, I don't know, you take it like personal, as if you like personally sewed something. And anyway, so yeah, I overthink things and I get in my head a lot, but
sometimes that ends up being your superpower, right? If you can manage that, what you do, manage it well, like you care. And so you're looking for that. You take it personal. You own it. It's your brand. Like, I love those statements because that's what I'd want everyone to feel. And you have demonstrated that. So I think that anxiety or caring becomes like your super strength. Yeah.
But I think to answer your question, as far as like taking the leap, said I was in a good spot at Browning. I could have stayed there another 10 years, right? And most people did. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like, you could see your path. Like you knew what it was. Yeah. And it's not that I didn't like it. Like, well, hey, what's going to be in 10 years? But it was like, here's what it will be.
Yeah.
And it was pretty straightforward. And I was like, you know what? Obviously, I had worked with Jordan in the past, so I knew him. I had a relationship there when I was at Easton. He was doing some stuff with us. Got to know Casey just through some trade shows and here and there. And then obviously you and, being kind of recruited over like, hey, this is his opportunity. I was already a user, of the product. I was already, Magnum was actually probably my first product that I started, getting into. I've always been a big guy. So all the extra protein and things, but, obviously knowing the team and then obviously meeting with you as you consider some of these risks, I don't know, some of it kind of like the optimism and, what I knew of the brand, and it was just more, young and exciting and was, changing lives differently than, what I was doing. Like I knew I could see the end goal.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was a normal, just good career, but I saw more opportunity, maybe not only for career, but just for, having an impact and something that's more rewarding.
Yeah.
And, we had, when I came over, there was not a lot of, the products were a little more limited, right?
Yeah.
There's way more SKUs and we're doing a lot more things now. So it was kind of like this blank slate of like, hey, what can we do? And where can we take it? And so that's been fun over the years where kind of like the unknown, you kind of control the strategy with the people here. And, it's a new brand that people, you kind of build off of their feedback and their excitement. And, so it's been.
You initially started just over gear, right?
Correct. Yep.
I was still doing the development on the product side for the most part, working with the chemists. And I don't know, was there somebody else on the product development on the supplement consumable side? And then you ended up obviously taking that whole department over as the VP of product and have built an incredible team. I'm looking out this way because we can see through the window over into the product bullpen. and Bruce is over there measuring something, and there's samples. There's different flavors out on the table. Yesterday we met and we went through flavor sampling. You guys sent some flavors of a new product home with me last night to try with my family. Incredible. So it's I mean, in the last 7 years, you've not only, obviously you had experience in the gear side and the technical apparel and accessories, that type of thing, and now you're adding a consumable product to the mix, which expands your capabilities and your just your knowledge and know-how and everything. How has that been, taking on now a consumable product on top of the gear?
I've really enjoyed it, right? There's parts of it that luckily, surround yourself with some of the best people, best team, right? And they can make things a lot better and smoother, because there's knowledge that some individuals on the team have that I don't have, right? What I always felt confident in my ability is kind of understanding the demographic and kind of what we're going after, and the ability to bring a product to market, no matter what it is. But I love the learning of it, right?
Yeah.
New category as a whole, and been doing it now, obviously a few years, but it's always exciting to like add new and learn more. I think if you kind of set those barriers where like, I'm good here and this is what I know, it's just limiting, right? And I think it's fun to like try to encompass and kind of grab everything. Hey, it's good to be an expert at certain things, and you can't be an expert in everything, but surround yourself with those that are definitely smarter than you, and and it makes it work.
No, that's awesome. Has there been a highlight of the product development side of things over the last 7 years of like either maybe a gear item, but more so like on the consumable side, where it's like, hey, this was really exciting to be a part of and see what's transpired?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you just have different ideas on like either form factors. Flavors are always fun to like work a whole campaign around, because they're just just add new excitement and stuff. But even adding, like we've added more of like protein bars and things like that that are like just broaden that whole line. Everyone's looking for those all the time. And even recently, like our hydrate line, it's like probably should have developed it a long time ago, but this week we were looking at some of the data, and it's like surpassed a number of the other categories that have always been like proven winners. And it's fun to see like something that we took a lot of time to develop the right formulation. There's a lot on the market in that space, and they're not all created equal. And so, and you can't just say, oh, electrolytes and they should be this price, and and you think you're going to get all the same kind of benefits. And so we kind of bounce back and forth on like the best approach there. And it's good to see like when you land and go to market, that the customer, is resonating with that, and, comes back to the well and continues to buy that and share it with people. Right. We're in a spot right now, like, hey, we actually bought some inventory as we were going through a little bit of packaging change. We're like, hey, we're going to be in this packaging through, I think it was like end of November or December, just based on our run rate and forecast. And like, last month in July, we were out, of that packaging, and we're into the new stuff. And I was like, so it's good to see those wins, like even surpass kind of
even that right there. Like how long was that process? If people are watching, they can see like this is the new packaging of Ignite.
This
is
the
old packaging of Hydrate. So we went through a few years ago. We've gone through a few identity crises, right? Where it wasn't an identity crisis, but it was like especially on the retail side, how do we show up best on the shelf? So we kind of did some color coding there.
We have a lot of SKUs, a lot of products that we're hopeful to help educate the consumer, like at least eliminate confusion by some color, right? And that ties into maybe like the category of what it is. And so if they know, hey, like I'm an Enduro buyer, and if I go to the store, or I tell someone to grab it for me, it's like, hey, it's the red one, right? And so we are trying to kind of help that on-shelf presence, and it was working for what it was, but we felt like our identity was kind of in our logo and our brand, kind of what we kind of built this brand on was being lost a little bit, right? And we didn't have the same impact that we wanted to. And so, when you go through one packaging change to then be like, it checked these boxes, but I think we, missed the mark on these others, to then kind of revert and do it again. it's a hard decision,
Yeah.
you know, and it's costly, and it affects, you know, photography and all the things that go into the market. You
Yeah.
look kind of like scrambled as a brand for a little while. So you're like, you know, they're not easy decisions. You're like, we're barely getting through it, to then be like, hey, we're actually going to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So hard decision, but I think at the end of the day, like with where we're landed, and, you know, we're probably 70-80% through our SKUs in the new packaging, you kind of sit back and you're like, yep, this was the right decision.
I could even see it at the Hunt Expo last year, or this year, where you could see some of the old packaging and then you could see the new packaging coming in, and it was like, hey, there's the brand. Like from a distance, you're like, there's the Mountain Ops icon.
Yep.
There's the mark. It's uniform. It's a family. There's energy. It's clean. It's simple, impactful. And I just think you and your team knocked it out of the park. I honestly, watching you guys through that process, it was difficult.
It was difficult.
The decisions were being made. There was a variety of choices to go with, because I mean, your team went to work and they provided a bunch of different options, and you had to consider how will this affect wholesale, and how will it affect D2C and Amazon, and how does it affect the current inventory status, like you were talking about. And I just feel like, yeah, you guys took ownership of that and made the right decisions in it, and it's working out. So
yeah, I'm excited. You know, Keith asked me, like, he's, you know, new CEO, been here a few weeks, you know, like typical kind of question, like, what are you excited about, you know, that's new and coming out? And I didn't even really think of like one of our new products. It was just like the whole package, to be able to be like, hey, we're in stock in all the new packaging, is like what I'm most excited about, because it's like that identity that we've worked on, you know, to like reinvigorate and restore in a way, is like, it's so close, you know. We're like right there, and that excites me, because, you know, I just think that unlocks a lot of things, you know, as we've kind of been fixing, not fixing is probably the right word, but like trying to just make sure we're, you know, we represent more. And
once you get this established, then it's like, then you really work on innovating and developing further, you know, existing and new products and such, and you've got the look and feel that you know you're going to put it in.
New and fun things.
Then your team gets pretty creative with the with flavor names and stuff at times. We got limited edition flavors that come out. Any exciting ones that you can think of on the, or should we not say?
There's a lot of exciting weeks. So we try to do one a month, really. For some reason, it seems like, maybe just because it's the time of year, and I feel like maybe I'm drinking more Ignite, but like, the ones we do in September seem like they're always like our bangers, right? We've always had like a Bugleberry in the past, a Bull Rush in the past. Huckleberry Lemonade is this September, which is really delicious.
So delicious. And I just saw some videos from Corey Jacobson, who was the one that told us, could you please, because he grew up, you know, hunting up in Idaho, where he was amongst the huckleberries. I didn't even know what huckleberry was. I mean, ultimately, I was like, oh, I've had this on my pancakes, like some huckleberry syrup, but I didn't know, you know? And you guys took some time to develop that flavor. And then Corey like signed off on this is it. This is what you need, you know? But I mean, how long did that one take? It's not like this is for those that are like thinking, oh, they just come out with these things and it's an immediate hit. It's not.
No, it's a process. I mean, yesterday in some of our sampling, I think we were on like, was it around 12?
Okay.
Because
we usually get 9, but probably
we usually get them in threes, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had 10, 11, 12, I think, were our sample sets yesterday of the one flavor. And I don't know if we actually checked that box yesterday. So
might have been.
It's definitely a process, and, you know, that's something we, you know, take a lot of pride in, is making sure our products, you know, across the board taste, you know, amazing, right? And some products like a BCA or something else, like sometimes it's difficult, you know, and people like, they accept the fact that they know what they're drinking and they drink it for what it is. But we always want like to have the standard that, hey, this is something I can sip on and just drink,
taste and feel the difference, right? Like, yeah, it's got to be an experience. So.
Yeah, I mean, but we try to plan out far ahead. I mean, I think we have most of 25 slated right now.
Wow.
And so
it's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes I'm excited for something, but it's like 8 months away or something.
I know.
Dang it.
Sometimes that's true, because it'll come out and be like, oh, I forgot we sampled this back, you know, last year sometime. It's exciting. It's funny because my family they have their favorites of certain products, and like, can you please get it in this? So we've been working on one that we sampled last night. That's a favorite flavor of ours in a hot Ignite, but we sampled it in a different different product last night. The whole family was super excited we could drink it right before bed. So just so you know, it was non-caffeinated, and hopefully not. And I slept fine. But it wasn't slumber. And then, my daughter Savvy's been begging for Tiger's Blood Enduro for the longest time because she doesn't drink Ignite, but it's the kids drink Enduro. And I think that's in stock here soon.
Yeah, it should be any day,
which is exciting. That's been a popular flavor in our house. It's not necessarily my favorite, but my wife and Savvy, they love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys have done a great job of knocking those flavors out of the park. And then there's so much science behind these products as well that if people just dove a little bit into, they'd understand like there is a difference here in how we develop our products, and there's a reason why we take our time. So
yeah, absolutely. And we talk about flavor, and that's obviously just one element of it, right? There's all the other active ingredients that give you all the benefits that, and that's really like those are things you're trying to like mask in a way, but like that's where kind of the sweet sauce is, right? People want to have it taste good, but they want to have the performance and the function of it, surpass the taste, right? And that's the ultimate goal, is that
100%.
these products, accomplish that and can help people in all different aspects of their life, right? It's not only just energy or sleep or whatever, right? I said like Magnum was like my like introduction to the brand. Like I always could never gag down a lot of protein in the past, and it was chocolate milk for me, and I'm a milk like huge milk fan, right? So like chocolate milk, strawberry milk, whatever. Like if you can nail that and it's got all the protein benefits, absolutely. So
we've kind of hit on the trifecta there, is where it's like it's got to look good. You guys have done a great job. It's got to taste good. Awesome job. And then more importantly than them all, it's got to work good. And so because that's what keeps people coming back. If it's just flavor, they can go buy it at a soda or a juice or whatever, but we really put time into making sure that the ingredients are in the right amounts, that they're effective, that people are gonna feel a difference. They're gonna see the aid that this supplement can be in their transformation. And I bet it's got to be fulfilling to you as we do these transformation challenges, to see the people that go through them and their lives are changed, and they talk about all this. But it's like, hey, we got to give the product team a little more credit in the journey that these people go on. Their lives they're changed, they're transformed, and it's not all the product. Like they are the product that has to like get the movement going. Get out there and do things, get off the couch or get up the mountain, or take their physical endurance or what they're doing in their life to the next level. But these supplements help. And they'll talk about it. They say, this is the product. This is kind of the cadence. This is the bundle that I use. So I've got to imagine that's fulfilling. And
it's rewarding. It's hard to take any kind of credit because these people, they put their heart and soul into like a change. But it's unique to see, and it's powerful to see them change via a lot of the products. And it's not the same recipe for everyone, right? Like different bundles, different things work. And different like staples, like this is my daily, and this is the other thing I get through this, other training for or whatever. And it is rewarding for sure. Like it's hard to take credit for someone else's success that way. And so I don't want to even say that, but, it's motivating, right? It keeps you excited about the job. 'Cause at the end of the day, it's still a job, but if you can, be excited and have passion for it day in and day out. And especially if you're like, hey, like, man, people are changing their lives. Like, and you've heard all the stories of like such a better father, husband, mother, and that's like, I mean, huge, right? I mean,
how much of that is like in your life and your responsibilities here, like the mission of Mountain Ops, like how much does it play into how you approach
I mean, I think with every product, like even some of like, you do like a giveaway or a promo product, and sometimes you're like, it fits the purpose, right? This is what we're trying to do. But you're at the end of the day, you're like, well, let's not, cut that corner or whatever. Like, let's put the best product we can for the purpose of what we're trying to do on the market. And if you're not driven by that, like how it affects people, like, I mean, it's hard to come in and grind and like hit deadlines and develop, it's season after season after season. You have to kind of see and feel that reward from the consumer. Like I said, I don't know how other people in like other industries and jobs, kind of get through that, because for me, it's like there's the passion side of like people performing in the field, and that's huge. I connect with that a ton. And then, you see someone like in their daily life go from like, hey, I'm not motivated, I struggle with XYZ, I'm not a very good father, mother, whatever, just because like I'm just distracted by other things or whatever it is. And like to see that change, like, and somehow we're a part of it. And then they're like fans forever, and they want to share it with everyone. And like, yeah, we were a small part. I mean, I know like that motivates my entire team, for sure, and for me, it drives me. And so that's definitely what makes the job like.
Well, I was just going to say that about you as a leader, because it takes it coming from the top down, you as the leader in your team, like them feeling the passion, feeling the drive towards a mission, and getting them excited about that, keeping them excited about that, because life is hard, business is hard. Going into work every day, it's not always like, hey, this is peaches and cream, like it,
sure,
And so I shared a message with the executive team yesterday that we need the skill. Like the skill will help us perform a task or get a job done the way it needs to be done. But then to kind of balance that, or to partner in with that, you have to have the will. Yeah, right. And so the skill and the will, because the will, when it gets hard, and life will get hard, life, and if you're doing life right, it's usually uphill, and because there's opportunity and growth, and it's not comfortable. And it takes the will to push through, and for me, I've found that the will comes when I'm attached to a mission, and when there's a mission that's driving me, then I have this will that like will not let me stop, and I'll go through whatever I need to go through to get there. And I've seen you lead your team that way. And so, it's a blessing to know, and for people listening that are taking these products to know that's the leadership behind the product that's leading this forward. That's the kind of mentality, that's the integrity, that's what you can trust is going on behind the curtain. It's, Ryan's leading in that way. And so I've always appreciated that about you. Is there a favorite product of yours that like, I got to have it every day, or like, I don't have it every day because I want to look forward to it every week, or something like that? Maybe what we'll do as people are listening, Ryan's favorite product, when this podcast gets posted, we'll give out a bottle or two to some of the listeners.
That'd be awesome.
What would it be?
Well, it kind of is a twofold, because I love my Ignite, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm like you, like I love Hot Ignite.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a staple.
I kind of would like one right now, actually.
But I don't drink it as like. So like my recovery days, or like the days that I'm home on the weekend, is like my kind of wake up, chill, have a Hot Ignite, right? And then just like sit there this time of year, watch like the sprinklers on out in the field, and there's geese flying over, like that. Those are like my moments where I'm just like thinking, and I don't know,
like a dream.
I kind of look like I'll set my alarm a little early just so I can get up.
Just so everyone knows, Ryan has like he has the picture perfect setting where he's doing this as well. You come out, you have like farmlands, you got the mountains, you got a lake nearby, like it. I teased Brian for a while, like, hey, let me build next to you, but literally, like, that is like it's a bit of paradise. So you picture Ryan on the weekends, waking up, going out with his Hot Ignite, watching the geese.
It is beautiful. It's not always that beautiful. Half the time I'm trying to go move water lines and getting soaking wet, but I have my Hot Ignite with me.
Yep.
But those are the days that I'm kind of like home on the weekend or whatever, and so then the other days I'm working out in the morning, right? So like Yeti's been a staple in my So Yeti Ignite, right? Those two are kind of a staple in my daily, which I love and I look forward to every day. So those are winners.
Well, I only wanted to give away one product, but I guess we give away a Yeti and Ignite. What's Hot Ignite? What flavor?
The cocoa.
The cocoa. Yeah. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's good.
And then Ignite, or no, Yeti. It was. Do you have a favorite flavor there?
Been doing Yeti mode.
Me too.
Sour smash.
Sour smash. That's what I did this morning.
Stock. So we should do that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, somebody's gonna win that. Maybe a couple people. So at Mountain Ops, at the beginning of the year, I introduced the Mountain Ops draw. It's pretty fun to watch and Ryan was a part of helping us plan this. Like I mentioned, I've got fear of others missing out. We do a lot of hunts here at Mountain Ops. We get out, we create content. I didn't want it to just be a certain, only a few people that got to do that. So I tried to create something within the culture that people could, with their tenure and different participation, they'd have an opportunity to draw on some hunts and to put points in for some hunts. And so Ryan got to accompany Cheryl, who drew the South Africa hunt with Tully's African Safaris, and Ryan, as one of our executives, accompanied her and a hunt winner.
Kind of two winners.
Two winners.
A hunt winner, and then one of our Facebook.
Yeah. It was Joseph, right?
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, so Ryan took that group down to some people that are very close to me. They've become amazing friends, almost like family, and love them. The Tollys, they're not the Tollys. Tolly's the father. It's the Jordan family. But everyone kind of calls them the Tollys because it's Tully's African Safaris, and Tolly means ox in Afrikaans. And he's an ox. He's like built like they're all built like oxes. But so we did this hunt and draw, and I'm going to be bringing the team members in after they go on these hunts they won. Like Heather is going on the Strawberry Ridge elk hunt with me in a few weeks. Tyson won that through our Conquer Fitness Challenge. We'll be with Rich Froning. Cheryl went to Africa. It was her very first hunt. You were able to be there. Her sister went with her in her first hunt. So we're getting a lot of first-time hunters into this because not everyone at Mountain Ops has been involved in that, but they come here. A lot of us are, but then they come here and they're exposed to it. They're curious. They want to learn. So we've had team members go to Maui already. We've had team members go to Texas for some access. I'm going to be sharing some of those stories with these groups of people, but I wanted to do this one-on-one with you because there was more to talk about, and there is with everyone. But, with the limited time we have, like, tell me about your adventure to Africa. There's a lot of hunters that I've known that are like, Africa's not my thing. I don't really want to do that. And then those that I have actually somehow talked into, or just like there are people that do want to go and they finally do go. They're like, hey, this is actually a different experience than I thought. What was it for you? What was the highlight, or what? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I was probably into that bucket that were like, maybe it wasn't like the bucket list hunt, but I'm always in on target rich environments, right? And I just never thought, if I'm gonna get over there, or when I get over there, what that would look like. And there's different parts of Africa hunts that I'm aware of that, even as a bow hunter, it's like sit in water or sitting in a stand and just like having whatever come in. It was like still awesome target rich, but yeah. I know with the Tollys, it's definitely more of a mountain hunt, which is like,
it looks a little bit like Utah or like
very the terrain is like exactly. So, so it felt like the way I like to hunt and what I know. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be cool. Obviously it lived up to that. Like the one main difference I kind of look back on is like, growing up public land hunting for the most part is, you put in all the work and you may or may not even see an animal, let alone get a stock, right? And like you just, it's work. Like that's what it is, but it's like, it's a venture, right? When you get to Africa, like the difference is like just the abundance of game, right? And so you're like, okay, it's not like if we're going to see the animal that we're after, it's like, how many stocks can I have? And hopefully it doesn't take too many, but with a bow, generally it does. Cause I tried to bow hunt, most of my animals, there was a few that I was like, probably wouldn't happen, but unreal experience, really.
You got to take your son with you.
I did. And me and my wife had talked, and I was, she likes to travel and experience that stuff. And so I was going to take her, and we kind of decided, like we talked about earlier, like want to get our kids on, it's more like service trips. Yeah.
And then it became,
I knew that they would do some service and like just to see the world and kind of what's out there. So we decided, hey, he's 15. He likes to hunt, right? Also,
Ryan's got a son named Beckham, 15. Yeah. My son's named Beckham, just turned 15.
Not confusing at all.
And spelled different. And I took Beckham the year before on the same hunt.
That's right. And so it was special to kind of go with him. Obviously long flights, so those are the only downside. But I've flown to China and Vietnam and all those places, so I was kind of used to it. But my son, he was like, "That was a long flight."
Yeah, it is long.
He thought he would just watch. He's like, "I just watch YouTube the whole time, right?" I'm like, "You could try, but you're gonna get sick of that." And anyway, so yeah, it was long. That's a long time, even for a lot of YouTube. So it was just like, I'll just not do anything great. But get over there. I mostly I had a few animals I was hoping to like. These are like the ones I wanted to, for sure hunt. And a lot of them like the kudu, and gemsbuck. A lot of those are kind of like top my list.
Yeah.
and a Nyala, which
Yeah.
I didn't even know
Beautiful
existed.
animal.
Yeah, and until I talked to you, and I was like, hey, I'm taking a bow. What do you think's the way to go? And you told me that Nyala is kind of a potential good opportunity, right? So I started there, right? And those other two were a lot like elk, even though it wasn't like a rut. But at Rut Hunt, they acted, and they lived in a lot of the same country, and I was like, that'll be kind of cool, right? And then my son, so there's a few other animals that were kind of on our list, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let him have it, have those or go after them. Growing up in Utah or even in the West, as a youth, it's hard. If you get one tag, you may get to pull the trigger, like you might get to pull the trigger once a year, right? And so it's hard to kind of get youth like kind of into it, right? And experience like that moment, right? Because there's a lot you learn in that like critical moment between like find the animal, going through and getting close, and then like shooting the animal, right? And unless you live like Midwest or out east where you can like shoot a lot of does and you can do 7 or 8, 10 a year, out here you can't, right? So I was like, man, and he hunted 4 animals and was successful with all 4, and like just the experience he could get in like one trip, versus like that would take him at least 4 years if he's successful every year. So that was awesome, and it was fun to see him.
What did he shoot down there?
What he shot an impala first, a blez buck, shot a warthog, and a spring buck. Cool. And he's lethal. I mean, as far as it's fun to watch, like he just keeps it together better than me. Like I get all amped up, and one shot, just like I think everything's on camera and just like perfect shots, and probably too many video games or something. Maybe it does cross over, and it helped him. But it's fun to see him just be that successful and like in those moments. And I was, I'd always kind of check with him, like if he was good, or if he, because you can get out of hand out over there, because there's just like everything's on the table, right? And he's like, I'll shoot whatever you let me shoot. And I'm like, all right, because I thought, because he's like, Dad, now you can take over, right? Yeah. So kind of the real exciting ones for me, like I killed a kudu, which was amazing, beautiful animals. Yeah. But I killed 2 animals with my bow, and over there, that was almost the last day. Had Joseph with us, had my son there. I killed a gemsbuck with my bow, and the guide. So the guy, there's 2 guides, but one was like, this is like, he's like, oh, he wants to try with his bow. Like, here we go. Like, this is gonna be.
Like, we could never get in close with those when we were there,
right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't really have faith, and I was like, yeah, we might as well try, right? And so we got on this one bull who was out kind of by himself, away from the herd, because that's like their best bet. And then he ended up making his way kind of back to the herd, but we were already set up. And kind of a long story short, I know we're out of time, but like we were set up perfectly, like we're on the base of this cliff, so we had like, we're above them, they're hoping to come around the bend below us. Yeah. Just trying to find like the perfect spot, because there's like a trail. Like, okay, if they're on this trail, this will be perfect. Anyways, the guide is like kind of up on the cliff, and they start moving perfectly like where they're supposed to come, and all of a sudden, they don't always take the script, but they kind of left the trail and they were going up behind us. So I have to, and they're like going quick. He's like, get up here. So I had to like scale the cliff, right? That's behind me, like with my bow. I had an arrow out.
I didn't know that.
So I scale the cliff, and there's a camera guy, and then my son and Joseph, they're all like coming up the cliff behind us, like have to like jump from this one rock to this other. And they'd all been like pilling over the top, right? And he's like, oh, the last one, there's only one left. And, this is the one we were kind of after the whole time. And he comes, crests the top, and kind of grunt at him and kind of have to guess the yardage in a way. I think Peter, who was my guide, amazing man, by the way, but
Peter's amazing.
I think he says like 45. And so I shoot. There's like, of course, like one little blade of grass, so like the whole thing. I didn't see this till we looked at the footage, but hit the blade of grass, and the arrow, it actually, the sound of it makes the gemsbuck kind of jump the string or start to move. Yeah. And so I hit him a little high and actually spine him, and he falls like right there, like in his tracks. So with a bow, that's like not normal, right? And so, and everyone had come up over the cliff and kind of was able to like be a part of it. Yeah. And he's like literally like right there. 45 yards away. And so it was like just such an epic moment because we're all just like celebrating. And, you know, I think they were like, I don't know if they have a number, but like only 3 or 4 people have ever killed gamma buck with a bow there.
Oh, I'm telling you, when we were there, like Hallie wanted one. That was her list. The closest we got was probably 500 yards, and then she took an 800-yard shot.
Yeah.
And dropped it. But like they weren't typically using or letting kids, especially, but my kids as well. They're lethal. Like, and but gamsbuck, especially for some reason, they were always seemed to be out in the open against the hillside, and like there was no way we could get on them.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, just knowing that and then how it all unfolded. Like, not that I have any kind of ability, got probably pretty lucky, but it just felt that much more rewarding. Awesome. Like one of the 2 animals was like, hey, if I go to Africa ever, like these things are so beautiful, right? And then to do it with a bow, which for me just always feels like amazing, right? And so I have some video footage of that I can share.
Maybe we add that on top of this for this YouTube.
Yeah, it was just like a little reel, but it has the shot and everything, and it's anyways, super exciting, and it was fun to be part of that for myself. But like, you know, Cheryl and Brenda, her sister, first time hunters, and I wasn't always with them, but like every day when they'd come back
and tell the stories,
hear the stories and from their viewpoint. And you know, that there's just something about that. You know, I always kind of had a bond with Cheryl, but and never knew her sister till those trips. But like, you just become family when you share those things together. And you know, same thing with like my son now. Like I know, like he thinks very highly of Cheryl, and like Tristan sees her as like, you know, this mother figure, and like everyone bonded. You know, Hunt winner Todd and Joseph who were there, plus all, you know, the Jordans. Didn't say that right, but it was an amazing experience. Yeah,
no, I agree. When you go and have those experiences with people, the connections that you create are life changing. The Jordan family, and then obviously you guys hunted a lot, but you did a few other things with them. Maybe spend just a couple minutes on that. Like, what else besides hunting did you guys do? Because if we do another hunt giveaway with them, I want people to understand what they would expect going down there.
Yeah, for sure. They kind of set up, I believe it's pretty much, if their clients want to, I guess, but we take a day and we go into the nearby town, which is where they all kind of grew up and they still live, right? Kids go to school there and things, but we were able to, we did one group where we went to this school with like they're kind of like youth they've been either struggling or they're just looking for additional education and like, you know, trying to progress in life because they don't get a lot of opportunities there. So it's kind of like almost not like boot camp, but you have to kind of like try out to get in. And so great kids trying to do more with their life. So they helped us. We were able to buy all this food, and we made, I think it was like 500 sandwiches and you know, a bunch of other things for these meal kits that we were making. And we knew later in the day we were going to go to this kind of school/community center. And
this is Operation Conquer Hunger South Africa, right?
Yeah, so a little different, but Operation Conquer Hunger. And they were telling us like a lot of these kids, they get a meal at school, but this was a Friday. They usually, it's not a guarantee they're getting a meal on Saturday or Sunday, right? And so what you're providing that day may feed them through the weekend, right? And so you're like, I mean, it hits pretty hard when you hear it that way, and you're like, you know, they only are getting fed at school and probably don't have food in the house. And so we made all those meals, you know, packed that, and that was a good time. But like, you go and we spent like an hour. We show up, they don't even know we have food yet, but we pull out a bunch of balls. I didn't think much of it. Like at first we on the Jeeps, they were kind of throwing the balls from the tops, and the kids were all excited and like wanted to play, you know, soccer or rugby because there's different balls. And I was trying to help, so I just grabbed another bag of balls like down, and I was like at ground level, and I got mobbed. I had to get out of there just because like they came in and wanted to, you know, a ball to play with, you know, so bad because we didn't throw them out one by one. And it was just like, I mean, my son was right there, and, you know, I think very impactful, right? Just, I guess what you take for granted in a ball to play with, right? And like how much joy that can bring.
Yeah.
And they knew they was like on loan, right? They were giving them back. These weren't gifts. They were just like, hey, play with this for an hour or 2 hours, right? And so we were able to play with them. And I was telling my son, like, because he's not like a soccer player or anything like that. But we were playing soccer and like juggling and stuff. And I was like, you know, I think he was a little bit worried about kind of how he looked or performed with the kids.
Yeah.
I didn't like get after him, but like, hey, this isn't about you. This is about them.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was like when they kind of switched, you know, like in his head, he was like playing with them, having a ball. And as a father, sorry, sweaty eye. As a father, to see like, you know, your son kind of like lay his walls down and just go like serve and hand out food and kind of get that reward from being there, it was like totally worth it. Like seeing him kill the stuff on the hunt and be excited, I was like icing on top. But like see him serving those kids and being able to take away from that like value in what he has in life and just like, you know, serving others was pretty special. And like I think that's what, well, I know that's what Conquer Hunger is about, and these trips too. And it's just like, yeah, you're there for a purpose and for yourself and everything, but like as soon as you can kind of turn the table and either, you know, you're donating your meat or you're helping others, it's really a game changer.
It's like we have one core value that we end the year with, and I think it's the word that describes exactly what the tears that I see coming down your face, the feeling that I get from your emotion. It's joy.
Yeah,
I think that there's no better word to describe what you experienced, what your son experienced, what others that were with you on the trip. It was like, yeah, all the hunt and everything was incredible, but then what it all comes down to is during that hunt, there's connection with relationships of people, and you're building bonds, and then you're serving others, and you're going outside yourself, and there's this pure joy that can honestly only come through service. And that's what I love about the culture that we have all created together here. It's like there is a goal to help others feel joy, to improve their lives, to experience things in a different way than sometimes we go through life, and it's just a little surface level. You're not that way. You're deep. You're intentional. You feel it. You understand it, and I can see it and feel it from you right now. There's joy.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, yeah, take me back. I could skip the hunting and just, you know, go on like a service trip. You know, that's what. I mean, really, that was the memorable part of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, super excited, and it's on my bucket list now, right? I got to get back.
Yeah,
and it's for the reason.
Surprisingly, I've heard, and I don't know if, I mean, there's a few friends that I've sent down there that have become really good friends with the Jordan family as well. They're in the industry. They own business in the industry. And they have said, there's a few elk hunts I would give up just to go back to Africa, you know. And it's like, but they came from kind of maybe the other angle before going down there. Like, yeah, it's not on my bucket list. Maybe not what I want, but it's about the people you worked. I know you guys worked out in the Jordan gym in the morning before you went out. The food is incredible. The environment, you sit around this pond there and eat some of your meals, and then around the fire at night, and you think you're eating your meal. Come to find out, it's just the appetizer, and then they move you into a dinner hall.
Exactly.
And it's like, whoa, I thought I just finished this, but there's just so much good to say. Paul's going to actually be out here in a couple weeks for a deer hunt. And so we'll probably have him up here and do a little podcast with. There, as you're describing that, there's an image I'll maybe end on of you that I want to share with those that are listening. But I think we're gonna have to do part 2 of this podcast, because I want people to hear what we've done at Mountain Ops over the last year and a half, 2 years. Is every team member shared their How I Conquer story, and that's like getting into some vulnerable parts of life, some mountains that we've climbed, and that's what Mountain Ops is all about, helping people conquer their mountains. Would you be okay if we did that in a part 2?
Sure.
Or should we just make this long? It's up to you.
No, I'm good with the part 2. However you want to do it.
Is there any like quick summary or a glimpse into like, hey, what's coming in part 2 from your How I Conquer? Some things you'd want to talk about, and just kind of give a little glimpse in, or we just surprise them?
I think you get surprised. I mean, like I said, I think everyone has mountains, right?
Yeah.
And they're all unique, right? And so, and as you face them, you're either either conquer them, and face them head on, or they kind of like linger and stay with you. So I just think everyone's kind of up against different challenges, and kind of understanding that it's hard to see, from the outside looking in when you meet people and you make whatever, judgment of like the situation,
Yeah.
So I mean, mine's nothing unique, but I think is how you approach it every day, because it's not like once you get past something, it's gone forever, right? Yeah. So there's always something else in front of you, and I'm happy to share.
Good. Yeah, I think it was pretty impactful when you shared with the team, and you've experienced some things in life that I'm sure others have experienced or going to experience, and you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So I want people to hear your story and hear how you've conquered through that, and knowing that those just give you perspective, strength, and ability to conquer the next mountain, because there's you get to the top of one and there's another.
It's always another.
But if you have the right mindset with that, there is joy in that journey. There's growth in that journey. There's opportunity that we need to take advantage of. We need to own. And so I'd love to have that conversation with you. I'll share this image that just popped into my mind as you were sharing, but to give you a question to think about to end on. And I think it's how we end the How I Conquer. In the end, like, how will you measure your life? Maybe think about that while I'm sharing. But I listen to Ryan, and I hear him tell the story of being there in Africa. Well, from the beginning, we talked about Share the Hope, taking wheelchairs, you and your wife, the impact that had on you, then how you served there, how you served Nathan and his wife, taking them on this hunt, what Mountain Ops has meant to you, and how you're serving people here with the product and service and everything. It's been a conversation in my mind about service, and then to end it and hearing the impact of that experience, handing out the sandwiches and playing, ball with the kids, and seeing your son kind of break down his walls and experience that. There was a moment in Mexico, and this was an area that I served my mission as a youth, and from 18 to 20 years old. So I was super excited to be back there. We went to an orphanage. There's a little boy that wouldn't talk to anyone, and he's in an orphanage, doesn't have a family, and there's a picture. Ryan finally got this little kid to communicate, to respond, and Ryan put him up on his shoulders. I think this kid urinated on you.
Definitely did.
There was, all of a sudden some warm feeling. I don't know. Maybe I might have been like, oh shoot, like pull him off of my shoulder. There was almost no reaction from Ryan. Just like, this kid I've lifted him up. He's on my shoulders. He's responding. He's smiling. He's laughing. He's finally communicating with us. There's connection. We connect, we conquer. And I just have this image in my mind of you with this boy, and the smile on your face, the smile on his face. And we say it all the time, they rise highest who lift as they go. I can't imagine, how you lifted that boy that day, what it did for him. And it's an image that's ingrained in my mind. So if we can find it, put it on this YouTube, like that's how I picture Ryan lifting as he goes.
And one of my favorite, definitely from that trip, one of my favorite moments, and the image that, says so many things to me, right? Because just knowing the experience of, like, we fought hard to get that boy to open up, right? And then, in the end, we were best friends, and, shared a moment of, a special moment, right? Anyways, it was super exciting, and we literally lifted him. We were throwing him in the air by the end, and there was so much laughter and excitement, and it took work, right? And then I think that's kind of the whole kind of point of it all. Like, we could have stopped, right? And there was lots of kids that needed attention and love, and he didn't want to, like, he didn't want it from us, right? We were like kind of foreign to him, and anyways, it was very special. And that picture, I definitely have it, and I would love to share it, because it means a lot. And I think people can resonate with that for sure.
We could get on here and just talk hunt. We could talk product. We could talk it, but all of that comes together when there's mission, when there's purpose, when there's intention, and it becomes a very human experience that I love that we've discussed today, and so many experiences we've shared together that I cherish and look forward to many more. How will you measure your life?
It's a good question. I talked earlier about kind of anxieties, right? And overthinking things. And sometimes, I mean, the fear of like failure is like always out there, right? And so I've started to think, or like measure my life is kind of setting kind of high standards, right? And high goals, and like kind of benchmarks to like work to daily. I used to do a lot. I wish I could do more. I don't mountain biking, but I started mountain biking clipped in. I used the clipped in pedals, and you kind of learn early in that process, like if you're not like progressing and moving forward, you're gonna tip over or you're gonna go backwards, right? And I think that's a lot with life. Like, you know, like you have to just be moving forward, but you have to have like something you got your mind set on, you know, whatever that goal is and where it applies. I think just as I get older, just like the coasting, for me, it's, well, I just don't see the progress. I definitely see the tipping and the falling, right? It's
powerful visual.
And so it's something I've tried to like stick with because, you know, and I don't ride clipped in anymore. So I can actually take a break if I need to. But
getting old.
You know, measure my life it's a bit kind of about what we talked about. It's about service, but like first and foremost, like to my wife and my kids, you know, like I said, go back to the fear of failure as a father and a provider. I feel like that's my number one job, right? And so you don't want to measure your life like only on like success, because there's so many definitions of success and failure, but like I want them to have a good life, whatever that means, right? Like I want them to be happy. I don't want them to have certain stresses. I want to be able to experience a lot of things, and I carry that weight.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, with everything I do and like decisions I make, small decisions can lead certain ways, right? Up or down. And so just trying to make sure, hey, like daily I have these reminders, these goals that if I can accomplish that, I'm progressing and on my way. And so I think that's how, in the end, I want to measure my life, just be seen as someone that always was putting others first and gave of himself so they could be better off.
That's awesome. That's powerful. And I think what we've talked about leads up to that. Like you've demonstrated that through the stories we've told today, through the experiences that you've shared with us, and that's powerful, Ryan. So I appreciate you. I've watched you live that way, and this so much good to come. So grateful that those that don't know you are getting to know you through this. You have Ryan to thank for some incredible products. Obviously a heart of gold, and one who truly lives the mission of Mountain Ops from a core value standpoint, from a drive standpoint, from product, from the passion of the hunt, and so just super appreciative to you.
Thank you. Like a lot of these opportunities have been from you and Mountain Ops, so I feel super blessed to, like I said, call it a job, but it's, you know, it's more than that. And so I value friendship and the opportunity, and appreciate all the kind words today.
Awesome. Well, let's get out and conquer more. This is how we conquer.